guys, Dave and Driving Venture. I'm back in the RS again. I am tackling these wonderful twisty lanes of Cheshire with this exhaust just keeping me company. What a crisp, clear day we are having today. It's just after Easter. The Cup 2 tyres are on this car again. And I'm a little bit disappointed because I would have just got back from the Highlands, which unfortunately had to be cancelled because of COVID. So I kind of like want to drive as much as my hair needs a haircut. But anyway, I'll take it a little bit easier now because in today's video I'm going to talk about that 911R which I drove and reviewed on the channel in my last video. It might not have been my last video because I'm on the way to film some TLC, some work and a bit of a sort of a refresh, some stuff that I'm going to have done to the RS today at Signature Group. It's a firm I've used numerous times to have PPF done on my car. So I'm headed there today. So I don't know whether that video is going to go out before this one. But anyway, I guess people don't always watch my videos in the order that I record them or even the order that I put them out on the channel. But anyway, the 911R is an extremely raw car and it's 5 years old, and I want to talk a little bit about the debate that seemed to come in the comments around the 911R was, in the eyes of one viewer, a bit of a joke. And I thought about that and I sort of came back at him a little bit and I saw, well, interesting comments and that, but I mean, I don't think you can call the car a joke, but I do understand why people perhaps don't like the car. And I think that the reason they don't like the car, perhaps some, is because it was a car that was unobtainable. You know, it had that sort of magical unobtainium chemical about it. You know, you just couldn't get one, and the very few people that did get them, obviously, maybe seen through envious eyes perhaps, because they were a car which very few people got to buy. And then it's the price tag. Okay, 500,000, yeah, over the top at the beginning. I think some very early cars went for like 550, and now they're somewhere between mid 200s up to mid 300s, depending on mileage, condition, and all the rest of it. So I think, yeah, is it as good as a 911 Touring? And I think that's the car that came along after the R and kind of was a bit of a, obviously, direct comparison because it had this classic silhouette. You can have stripes put on it. A lot of people went for the classic whites, etc., etc. So it was a car with similar dynamics, a higher red line. I was informed 9,000 RPM red line. The R isn't quite correct. Okay, well, it will not split hairs over maybe a few hundred revs on the rev meter. But anyway, it's a car which came along and unfortunately again was a difficult car to get, but more people got them, and I think many more people spec them in the US and in other markets. In the UK, it's rumoured that less than 100 cars were registered in touring format. And I've said it in some of the previous videos, days gone by, that my Centre Kendall, they had one out of all their allocations that was spec'd as a touring. So that ratio replicated through the country. Perhaps, you know, you've got a very low number car in terms of registrations and on the road. So I think that, you know, that's something which came along and turned heads again. And if you look at the residual values, secondary market, the 911 Touring GT3 is a car which, for me, is just so classic. And my friend Paul Cooperman, he always ribs me because he said, Dave, you should have spec'd a Touring, And you know, I don't regret that I didn't actually, because I wanted a PDK, I wanted a car with a wing on, I wanted the roll cage, I wanted all of those things, and I didn't buy my GT3 with one eye on will it be worth more in the future. My cars are all about getting in them, hands on the steering wheel, get the ignition on, get in the right gear, and off we go. That's really what cars do for me. It's why I enjoy them. I enjoy them so much. So, is a 911 Touring better than a 911R? Well, what I would say about it, as we come through the roundabout at Knutsford, is it probably is a better car on some levels. It's a less expensive car. It's got the same performance and dynamics. So it is perhaps better on some just pure out and out metrics and measurements. But what I would say is that, unfortunately, as I know someone had a 911 Touring that sold it, it'll never be a 911R. And the reason it won't be a 911R is because it hasn't got the weight saving features, it hasn't got the suspension setup. It's not been designed to be a 911R. It's just a GT3 without a wing on the back, basically. Whereas the 911R was completely different. So I think they're always going to command a premium. They're always going to be more expensive in the market. And I think if I had a choice, yeah, money's no object. Yeah, you go for the R. Having driven it, it blew me away. It completely blew me away. The way that thing revved was just absolutely unbelievable. It just absolutely explodes. The single mass flywheel just spools up and spins and goes. Chuntry on the standstill, but just an absolutely brilliant car to enjoy a day's driving. And I always enjoy the drives to the shoots and the drives home because I can concentrate on I can just relax. I'm not concentrating on thinking what I'm going to say in front of a camera. So, just a great car. So for me, yeah, it's a better car. I don't think you can really argue that it isn't a better car than a Touring, but I think Tourings are going to go down the Porsche analogues. Obviously not making them anymore. There's only so many in the UK market, and I think they're a fantastic car, fantastic buy, and I think your money's very, very safe in a Touring. But obviously 992, the Touring option will be coming very, very soon, and I think this time round a lot of people will go Touring manual over the wing car because of what the 901.2 have taught us, really. So there we go. So that's a little bit about the 911R versus the Touring debate. So also in this video, let's talk about the Driving Adventure Club website, which is, I think this is the first video I'm recording since I've actually seen the renders of the website. It's obviously all together now. It's all coming together, and I'm really pleased with it. I think it's going to be accentuating the three key things, which is all about social, having a great time. It's all about drives and meets and great times as being a member of Driving Adventure, and then there's the trips and the tours, which is the third thing. So those three things get accentuated, and it's, as the name suggests, going to be all about the driving and all about the experience. And as a strapline to Driving Adventure, it's all about the experience. Hopefully you'll want to create yours and you'll want to get involved. And let's just get a little of this exhaust. It just picks up and you're off. It sends you to a level of pleasure. It's even with my 63S in tow, it can stretch its legs away from that car quite comfortably. I'm sure this car runs about 550 horsepower, I'm sure it does. So yeah, I'm really happy with the website. It's great. It's what I want. It's going to be there's also going to be a media hub. So for people who don't have a car or just like media, watch the Instagram, you'll be able to pay a very small amount of money per annum and be able to access the reels and the clips and the videos and the photography. There'll be some T's and C's with that, of course. But anyway, it's time just to overtake this lorry, I think. No problem. No problem. Okay. Cooperman's at the wheel of my GT3 RS, and he's doing a good job of keeping up. I'm taking the back roads. I guess it's the only road to take, really, when you're driving a car like this. Just talking slightly about the Highlands then. I mean, when you're up there, when you've been in your car and you've tackled the roads, they just go on and on and on. The pleasure keeps coming, the roads keep coming, the bends, the scenery, the whole feel of the place, it just keeps coming at you. And I can honestly say, after a day of driving in the Highlands, you get out of the car, you get to the guest house, you get to the place we're staying, and you're ready to have a bit of a walk, you're ready to have a nice meal and a few beers, and you've had your fill, you've just enjoyed it. It's just you're full up. You've reached, and then have a night's rest, and you're ready to go again. And it's just absolutely magical. Now this car has its Cup 2 tyres back on, thanks to Nine Meister at Warrington. They kindly fitted the tyres on. They've got this amazing machine, it's called a Hunter, a wheel balancer, and basically you just off the wheel up onto the machine, and then basically no human touches it until the tyre's basically off, and then on again. So it just swaps it round. And then the balancing on it is amazing. And the feel of the steering when you've had it done, it's just great. So I've actually changed from using Costco on the E63. I now have that car done there now. But for my wife's Mini, it's just not worth doing it for the Mini, I suppose. Although it's quite a sporty drive, 2 litres, 180 odd horsepower. When I do get behind the wheel of that car, it's not too disappointing. You can't compare it to this. I mean, it's just a different animal that is unleashed on the road. And I mean, the way you go around bends in this, I mean, it's just, and coupled with the seat, just absolute perfect setup. Okay. I also want to just say, before I get on to the next topic of discussion, that for people that watch the piece to camera video, the one I do outside of doing like the polished stuff with car reviews and stuff, if you've got anything in particular you want me to talk about, or you want me to bring up, or questions about driving venture, then drop it in the comments, and obviously I can discuss that in the next episode or episode after that, if you like. But okay. All right, well, the next thing I want to talk about is, as a few of you have commented and got in touch with me about, is that what on earth has happened to Rolex prices? Well, they've gone absolutely astronomically off the scale, and you look for any precious metal Daytona, really anything in the Steel Sports lineup, it's just gone crazy. I just don't know if it's really even sensible, some of the asking prices. Somebody sent me, one of my pals sent me a link for a stainless steel Daytona, brand new in box, stickers on, £40,000. There's a bit of a rumour around, is the Daytona going to 41mm? By the time this video comes out, we'll know. I'm making a bold statement, I don't see 41mm in the Daytona. But what has happened with the 41mm Submariner is that it's kind of just moved the game on a bit. It's probably its biggest selling watch, the Submariner. It's a watch, I would say, if you can get your hands on any Rolex first, that's probably a little bit more obtainable than the others, it would be a steel Submariner. I think that's just a perfect classic watch to have to own from Rolex lineup. But anyway, that's now 41mm. The bracelet's a bit wider, the clasp a bit wider, these subtle changes. So maybe it makes the GMT case and bracelet look a little bit smaller now. Is 40mm too small in today's world? People want the bigger watches. Sporting the 116600 today. And as we have seen on the website for Rolex, we know what's coming at least for one of the watches, and that's a refresh, and that's the Explorer 2. So that watch is imminent. It's right around the corner. I'm recording this on the 6th of April, and it will be the 7th tomorrow and will be revealed. So who knows, will it have a ceramic bezel? That's the chatter. Will it be steel? Personally, I would like it to remain steel. I think it's been a steel bezel for so long. I just think it could do with being a bit bigger, a bit chunkier. I can see the millimetre diameter going up to 43, but then it's sort of treading on the toes of the Sea Dweller, and that leads me to think, I think the Deep Sea could be on its way. It's okay. So I think changes are ahead for Rolex. And is the market going to soften? I can't see it. I just think the Rolex prices, the way they're going, people seemingly are just paying them in the secondary market. And I think that's the thing about it, is that if the demand's there in the secondary market, I think it says to Rolex, well, I think our watches are probably a bit cheap. And I'd have to agree with that. I think they probably are a bit cheap. I think if the Explorer, when it's released, isn't £7,500, I'd be very, very surprised. 6.5 just a giveaway price for that watch at the moment. So I do think it will go to sort of mid-sevens. That's my thought. And then the secondary market prices of all the other Explorers will go up. The Explorer 2 will go up. So there we go. Well, I have reached, I guess, almost the midway point of this journey. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the comments I get on my channel and I've had on the Instagram, which are just, you know, I sort of refer to these people as just like complete saddos, really. They'll come on and they'll say all sorts of things and have a pop, you're holding your steering wheel wrong. Well, it's sort of my car, thanks, and I sort of like hold on to my steering wheel as I want to, thanks, you know. I mean, you just get people who come on, honestly, they must sit there daydreaming away and then go, oh, look, I'll go on YouTube for a bit and I'll just make some silly comments. Honestly, these people just completely do my head in for how sad and just pathetic it is, really. And I hardly get any. I know some people, they get a lot of hassle and they get a lot of grief from people that watch them and just, you know, and all the rest of it. And I think it's really, really sad. I really do. So I think it's just nice to be nice, isn't it? It's nice to be positive. It's nice to be positive, and you know, I really appreciate the people who do comment, because, you know, the stuff that I put on, the videos that I produce, the content I'm producing, you know, it's not as if I'm sort of like not working at it and not making an effort. And you get people who just pitch up and let's have a pop. What's the point? What's the point? What's the point? So anyway, just concentrate a little bit there on what was going on behind me, because I've just overtaken a few cars, as you might have been able to notice, and I've got a coupe man in tow. So just be nice, you know, when you're commenting on social media, just be nice. What's no point having a pop at people, because, you know, people don't realise, honestly, they don't realise the amount of effort that goes into this. Video is easy to produce. Some videos are much harder to produce, a lot more effort, and they just like to have a go. It does my head in. Absolutely, it does my head in. So, as we continue our journey, I am looking forward. What is the first thing that Drive Adventure is going to do when we can do it? The club gets moving, we can start doing some stuff together. What's you know, some of the first things that we're going to be able to do, or what's the first thing I want to do? Well, I think it's probably going to be a social gathering, and then it's going to be a drive somewhere nice, probably Wales, something in Lancashire, Cumbria, Yorkshire, something like that, a nice lunch out, something like that. We probably will do a tour with an overnight stop before we get into later in the year when I'm doing the Highlands again. So I've booked all that up, all the accommodations booked, etc, etc. So that's where we're probably going to be. So if you are someone that's interested in the club when it does launch, it feels a bit funny saying club, but as far as I'm concerned, it's just Drive and Venture, and the key's in the name. We're going to be going to lots of different places, and it's all about the driving and having great times, really. I mean, that's what it's going to be about. And I think if you enjoy driving and you enjoy spirited driving, sensible, spirited driving, then Drive and Venture will be something which will appeal to you, because over the years I've had my cars and done different things. I've got to know people, and it's kind of funny how you almost sort of like with social media and buying cars from Porsche Centre Kendal, soon to be Porsche Centre South Lakes, you almost sort of like end up rubbing shoulders with people who have similar passions and want to do the sort of things you want to do. But I want to take that up to a bigger scale, where we can actually meet more people, you know, that want to do that sort of thing. That's really how I see it. And it's just around the corner now, as the UK comes out of this blasted pandemic, plague, coronavirus. Go down in history as probably the worst 18 months of history in England ever. Probably end up being 2 years of it. Just so sad what it's done. But the sun is shining. The car is headed to have some TLC done. We're getting nearer and nearer to meeting and doing some great things together. So stay tuned. Appreciate you listening to my rambles when I do them. It's not really a Costco drives, it's a GT3 RS drive, another one. So appreciate you watching, and as always, I'll see you next time.